It is October 1st, 2019. This is episode 14 of Roostertail Talk. I am your host, David Newton, and this is part one of a two-part episode where I interview Bob Stiles and Gary Laws. I went down to the Hydroplane and Raceboat Museum last August, and I talked with both of them. I talked with Bob about his years owning the Squire Shop business, as well as a hydroplane racing team, as well as with the 79 Squire Shop hydroplane restoration happening right now. And I also talked with Gary Laws about his background in hydroplane racing, and how he and his family got the restoration process started for the 79 Squire Shop and his involvement right now. I hope you're comfortable. Sit back, relax, and welcome to Roostertail Talk. I'm sitting here with Gary Laws and Bob Stiles. We're down at the Hydroplane and Raceboat Museum, talking about the Squire Shops and a bit about hydroplane history. And I appreciate both of you being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've both been around the sport for a while.
Quite a while.
And one thing with the show, I like to talk about hydroplane memories and just kind of hydroplane nostalgia. So I was wondering if you had a first memory or a favorite memory around hydroplane racing you'd want to share before we get too deep into this.
Stan Sayers was a close friend of the family and our total families. And, so Stan one time had, after the race, they were doing, out in Monday, they were doing some trial run just before they closed the whole course down in those days. And he had an extra seat. And he said, "Bob, you want in?" How does any kid at 14 years old or 13 years old say no? And jumped in, and I had a thrill going around, and I always had enough thrill of it anyway. We watched them since the 50s, and so it stayed with me. Later on, when we got into business, it was something I thought would be exciting for employees. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Well, I still do enjoy it.
Oh, good. Well, Stan, he was pretty generous with rides with his boat, wasn't he?
100-mile-an-hour club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a few people still have their card.
Yep.
Did you get a card for that?
Yes, I did.
You still have it?
Somewhere in all my memory things that goes back about 70 years ago almost. So.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah.
It's in the box somewhere.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Gary?
I thought long and hard about this answer, and I've had a lot of great experiences in the last few years, met a lot of great people. But I would say my favorite memory has nothing to do with an actual event, like a seafair or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be with recovering that cowling from the lake, the engine cowling lost many years ago. And it was so cool in the fact of not that we found it and all the work going into it, but got to hang out with Chip.
Yeah, he was there with you too.
Yeah, for hours, man. You couldn't put that on a bucket list.
No, he's a great guy.
That was awesome.
Yeah, but he did that part of his show, right?
Yeah,
the boat guy.
We reached out to him.
Yeah.
We were getting ready to go do this and expressed interest in covering that, which we're so thankful he did. But yeah, he wanted to be involved, and he came up with his crew, and we filmed it. And if anybody wants to check it out, you can find it on YouTube. But he was just as excited as we were. He's pulling on the ropes harder than us at times. Bringing that thing up. So, but just being there and that whole experience, got to hang out with him. He's on the boat. He couldn't just leave.
Well,
but stuck with you.
Yeah, he was stuck. So it was a blast.
He lost it, so he better go down and get it.
Yeah.
Even if it was 1,000 feet down.
But yeah, that was a lot of work to do that.
He's a great guy.
Capped it off. We got to hang out with Chip, so I really enjoyed that time.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool he was able to film that and make that part of his show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know about that. You guys found that until I saw the show. And I'm sure a lot of other people found it that same way. It was a good way to document the whole experience.
Yeah, and little at the time did we know that would be his last show.
What was his last show?
We were the finale, and it kind of just went away after that. So, I mean, it was an honor for that, let alone. And I think it's the most viewed episode of his entire show.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, let's talk a bit more about that boat, the 79 Squire Shop. How did you decide that you wanted to restore this, and how did you go about acquiring this hull?
So I'll start with the first part of that question, decide to restore it. Well, without getting too much into the history, my wife had an opportunity at one time as a youth to take a ride in this boat, and she, for lack of a better word, chickened out. And it didn't happen, and she'd tell me this story every year at Seafair of what could have been, what, things like that. And when the opportunity came up that this boat was available, at the time, Bob had already gotten the other hull, the circus hull. And I really didn't know the history of either boat at that time other than it was a Squire and there was a circus. And, I didn't know the nuts and bolts about it. When I started going back and digging into it, I put back together what year was what and narrowed it down to that actual 79 hull. Okay. Is when this happened. There was pictures of her getting that ride opportunity in 1980, so I was able to validate which boat it was. And then I'm like thinking, I think they got the wrong boat for that particular situation. I said, I think I want to try and maybe make that accurate, I should say. So the boat came up and I found out that's the one that was available. Price was right. Got some people together, and at that time we thought, let's just go get this boat, donate the museum, and maybe something will become of it. And at the worst case scenario, I figured, well, if the boat was a total loss, I could sell the trailer and make my money back. So I wasn't going to be out anything. Yeah. So that was the thought going in, and then it just kind of grew from there. It was, Dan Walters came up one year at Seafair. We decided to wash up the boat and put it out on display, more or less just because we could. It was just cool. We kind of geeked out. We're like, let's just put it out in the yard and see what happens. And Dan Walters happened to come up there, former crew member, told me that story about the cowling, and it started from there. Went and looked for a part, brought it up, and kind of shocked everybody that we actually did it, for one. And then, got in communication with Bob and got together, and we kind of made the decision of which boat we wanted to do, and just went from there.
Nice. Well, I remember one year you had the cowling out in front of your house on display. I think you had it roped off. But I snuck in there and got a picture of myself in the cockpit there. That was pretty cool to walk into Seafair and see that, though, on someone's lawn.
Yeah, we'd cleaned up the engine cowling at that point, kind of scrubbed it down with some oven cleaner, whatever we could to get 35 plus years of mud and silt and all that off of it. Cleaned it up best we could. And during that time, from when we brought it up to that particular Seafair, we had acquired the driver's cowling from the circus and some wings and other parts. We got them from Dave Bardish. Fortunately, he was lucky enough to hang on to all these things, or else we wouldn't have that. But we made a deal and we got those parts. So we're like, what the hell? Let's just put them both together out there, do exactly what you did. People sneak in there and get a quick picture, But it was just more or less to show everybody that, hey, we're doing this, and little by little we're pulling pieces from all over the country, and you saw a piece of it that day. Yeah. So
awesome. Well, many don't understand how much it takes to restore a boat like this. There's a lot of hours, a lot of finances. Could you give us kind of a perspective on how much it takes to restore a hydroplane from sitting for 25 plus years on a trailer to getting it ready to go out and run again?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the boat you're trying to restore itself. Does it have any sentimental value? Does it have was it a success? Did it race longevity? Was there popular names attached to it? Sponsor name, things like that. And just the fact that it was Chip's first successful boat, first win he got was in that boat, and then the Squire Shop for local community is a big name, back then. It had a lot of support behind the brand and the boat and the driver. So I think that was a good launching pad just on the history alone. Okay, in terms of the finances, these things aren't cheap. Money doesn't just pour in to a project. I mean, active teams have a hard time getting sponsorships. You can imagine a historic team.
Right.
So something I wouldn't say I was good at, I was fortunate at, was going outside and bringing in some money from other companies who were interested in supporting the project. I'll be the first to tell you, I think it was my enthusiasm that won them over more than anything. And they kind of sucked them in. They wanted to help make this successful. In terms of labor, no question. It's hours and hours, weeks and months to do this. I mean, we've been on it 3 years now, and we've got another 6-9 months to go. But we're taking our time.
Great bunch of guys.
Great crew.
Absolutely.
A lot of experience, a lot of names people would know. Tim Ramsey's and John Watkins, Steve Compton, a number of other folks. Yeah. And some guys who've never even seen a boat. I mean, we had a guy in the crew, Brian Zimbelman, co-worker of mine, and he'd never been to a race ever.
Yeah.
And he's in there at his first race, Seafair, here a week ago, and he's in there with the wrenches in the trenches, throwing ropes out to the driver. I mean, he's doing it all, and he had a blast. Couldn't you couldn't take that smile off his face all weekend long. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of new faces and a lot of seasoned veterans on the team, but no doubt takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And a lot of time away from families.
Yeah.
But the goal's in sight, and we all want to see it be successful.
Yeah. How long has this process been? And you said there's about 9 months left to go to finish it, but when did you start tearing the decks out, start working on the boat? Do you remember the date?
I want to say it was around November of 16, maybe 15. I want to say 16.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. It was towards getting close to Thanksgiving, Christmas time when we started ripping into it. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, man, that it was a pretty right boat. I mean, it had 30-some years of water sitting in there and rot, and the boat was in really rough shape,
Yeah.
And we did the best we could with salvaging what we can, but it's
going to look beautiful.
The end result is going to look immaculate.
It's going to go great. It's going to run great.
Yeah, it looks beautiful right now, the state it's in.
Yeah.
Definitely have a lot of great talent working on that boat.
Absolutely.
But, make no mistake about it, we tried to save every little sliver of wood we could out of that boat. So.
Yeah. I know that you had to take the cockpit off. Do you still have the cockpit it ran with last?
Oh,
so it last ran as the Rafe Thorsman Jerry Hop boat called Thor Racing, amongst other names, Race to Race. But yeah, we still have it outside. So we've always talked about if somebody really wanted to get ambitious, they could restore both boats, and you'd have kind of a paradox there. Because we still have the wings, the wing, the fairing, the cockpit, engine cowling. So if somebody wanted to build a boat and slap those on, or you'd call them both, I guess. But.
We bought two. We had one boat that we bought, and then Gary bought this one, and we're merged.
Okay.
Parts together and everything else.
Yeah, and we have the Circus too that Bob bought, and we're kind of taking what we can from that and put into this boat.
Okay.
We want to have the best Squire we can.
Yeah.
And we will.
And that's what we're doing.
Well, it's kind of fun because that boat was a Squire Shop at one point well. So it's mixing both blends together. Very cool. Well, maybe you can put that canopy in front of your house one year at Seafair, and I can kind of sneak in and get a picture.
I think the plan for that canopy outside is they might make some kind of, I wouldn't say a toy, but like a mock simulator photo op type thing for the museum, Okay. I think that's the plan.
Yeah, that sounds cool. But you're happy with the progress so far in the restoration?
Absolutely.
I couldn't be any more happier. I mean, it looks beautiful out there,
And the team is so dedicated to the boat.
Yeah. Well, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just like mechanics or just like typical crew guys. We got craftsmen out there. Yeah. I mean, it's a work of art what they're doing. So I encourage anyone to take a look before we button it up.
Yeah. Well, how would people be able to help out on a project like this? Is there any way that they can help either monetarily or with their time?
Both work just as well. Monetary is always a good thing. It speeds up the process. We can get things done faster if we got the cash flow. Other than that, we're we get it where we can. And fortunately, we've had a good jump on it with people that have donated already. Some significant amounts that got us started right out the gate.
Good.
Kind of pushed us in the firing order, I should say.
Yeah.
So then on hands-on, anytime. Anybody can come down here. We can teach you if you don't know what to do. There's no job you can't do down here. If you want to push a broom, that's fine. If you want to clean, that's fine. If you want to learn how to turn a wrench, we can do that too, or how to read drawings. Anything, just questions. You want to learn something, they'll teach you down here.
Are there certain nights you have, like crew nights for the boat?
Yeah, Tuesday night is the big night for during the week, and Saturday is the heavy hitter day where a good portion of the day is spent working on the boat. Tuesday's just nights. Other than that, it's sporadic here and there.
Okay.
Real dedicated guys might pop in and finish a specific project, but Tuesdays and Saturdays are the biggest ones.
Okay.
For those also that don't know where it is, it's down in the Kent area.
Yes.
Just north of the large Boeing complex down here. And you've got every hydroplane practically that's ever run that was in the championships and in the strong fellowship of the racing teams. Right here at the museum in Seattle. It's the largest museum of any hydroplane organization in the whole world.
Yeah.
Right here in the city of Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised how many people still don't know about it
That's
after all
correct.
these years. And
That's correct.
they have so much memorabilia, boats,
Yep.
everything with the sport that anytime I'm here, I always see something new, right? There's always new stuff that pop up.
And a lot of film that they
Mhm.
run on the cameras here, that on the
Yeah.
projectors, and that people can see all the time that's running.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, with this Squire Shop, do you have a target date to have it ready?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow? All right.
Yeah, that's a
Perfect.
target now.
All right. I got
Well,
nothing going on.
Like
That's
every
awesome.
target.
Well, we were hoping to have it ready for Seafair this year. It was the 40th.
So yesterday.
Yeah, 40th anniversary, but we came up a little short due to some part shortages. But we're going to take our time now for the rest of the year. We're going to, I would say the boat would be done around early springtime. And then we'll, do a couple practice crew runs on it. I mean, practice putting on wings, practice skip fins, just basically like a pit crew trials out here in the parking lot, whatnot. But I would expect to see it in the water, springtime possibly.
All right. Awesome. Will your wife finally get the ride then? After all these years?
Yeah.
That'll be up to the driver, and that'll be up to
I get asked that all the time.
Hydro
and,
Museum and other things, and
yeah,
insurance companies. But
yeah,
we
that
hope
may-
that she will. We hope she will.
someday she will. I don't know if she will the very first time or anything like that, but yeah, she's looking forward to it.
Well,
They have put a Stan Sayers seat in there. It's co-pilot,
Okay. Okay. Well, fantastic.
so they will be giving rides.
Oh, cool. Cool. I know they can't do that with the Atlases and some of the other boats they have,
Yeah.
so it's nice that they'll be able to do that with this boat.
This boat was organized
Yeah.
by Gary and ourselves to make it possible.
Well,
It's a big
good
cowling
foresight.
on this boat,
Yeah.
It's pretty big, so.
Yeah, it's a wide cowling. Awesome. Well, Bob, how much have you been involved with this process?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. I bought a boat about 5 years ago, which was one of our boats, and it's the sister model to this boat. It was the circus boat, and when we went to the World Cup, one of our boats was flipped on Lake Washington beforehand, and luckily we were able to get it. And Bill Bennett of Circus Circus gave us the honors of buying it and released it to us, and so it's.
Yeah.
We have that. I purchased it, and Gary bought the other one, so we have cross parts and things of that sort we can use off of it. And I think in the future they hope to even make it a circus boat.
Oh, that'd be cool. Really fun. So did that come from Bardish in Detroit, the circus hall that you purchased?
Yes,
Okay.
it was in a museum for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and he still has quite a few
Oh,
parts and pieces over
He
there.
decided he wanted to get rid of some of them. And,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
one of them he released.
yeah, he's
A few
gotta pay-
others. Yeah,
He's got to pay the bill for racing now, right?
that's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, how did you get involved in the sport of hydroplane racing? You had your own team for many years. How did you get into the owner seat?
Well, our employees, as we built our company bigger and bigger, it started right here in Seattle when Nordstrom had one store. The Squire Shop that I opened had one store. Nordstrom had two stores. It had two stores, and before when we got up to about when we were around 35 or 40 stores
Oh wow.
through 5 states, including Alaska. The employees, it was a sport that's exciting. It was a great item for so many people. I could never understand why a lot of people never, or to this day, do not sponsor a boat or own it. And I thought, no, we're going to control this under our own ownership. So we had a little more control of what happens.
Yeah.
And most all owners put their name up there bright and shiny, and the Squire Shop was for the employees only, and for the public, and for everybody, the fans. And it's the number I got at the national meeting, which was the U2, it was the U.S. before, and they were going to retire it. I wanted it because it meant you too, the public and the employees.
Yeah.
And we had display boats too that we had, and we put them in malls, and it's a big fan base.
Yeah.
It's a big fan base.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know it was really popular with a lot of fans.
Still,
Yeah.
when they even hear what we're doing now and what Gary's done on putting a lot of this on YouTube, on the different network areas, it's been even some of the crews have come as far as New York to be to be
wow.
involved.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe it's been so many years that the museum's been around.
Yep.
And this is the first Squire Shop restoration, first big project for
Yep.
that team. It's been such a big part of this area for the hydroplane sport.
This in the whole Northwest, and even in all places, even Alaska, they wanted a display boat up there, and
Wow.
all over the other 4 states down here. We put them in their malls. They were all major malls, and boat shows and everything else, and they were very popular, very popular.
Yeah.
And it was the employees' boat. And when they saw that on the malls, and people going up to it and coming in and saying, "Was that's your boat out there?" It just made me proud to know that our employees were getting something out of it.
Yeah. Well, it's very special. That's
Yeah.
very special. Well, you were part of a racing team. You owned a racing team from 77 to about 86.
Mm-hmm.
So almost a decade there. What were some of your highlights for owning your own racing team?
Well, one, just like I mentioned, it was a sport for the team, for the employees. We would be in Tri-Cities, and we would be in Seattle, for instance. Our employees from all stores, from Alaska all the way down to the force in the Northwest area here, we ran contests, and they could bring their family and be supported by the people of the company to come and be able to stay there and see the races. That we had a grandstand in Seattle, a grandstand over in Tri-Cities. We also it was just a lot of hard feel for me to see how they loved their company like I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So would you say that was probably your favorite part of owning the boat, just the connections you made and
Absolutely.
giving back to the people of the area?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, fantastic. We need more owners like you around, that's for sure.
It was an honor to be an owner.
Yeah.
It was an honor to be an owner.
Well, in all those years, do you have any regrets being in the sport, of any part of that?
No, I saw the sport grow. When I became a strong member of going ahead with it was when the first team of all the people, I belonged to the Seattle Yacht Club, and they for years put the race on and helped put on the race for connections with Seattle. And when they pulled out, and then generations changed, like the Sayers and people like that, they were gone by that time. And I just felt Seafair, as well as the racing across the country, needed a stab in the arm a little. The Seattle PI and Times got on me and said, "Well, why did you buy a boat? Don't you know the sport's dying?" I said, "The sport isn't dying. It's just starting."
Yeah.
And I said, if they wanted to move it over on Puget Sound, and I said, well, if they don't want hydroplanes, we'll run it down in Renton, or we'll run over in Kirkland, or we'll run somewhere else, because those are all parks.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you can't run on those parks, and you can't charge on those parks. So my dander got up a little more. And so my comments drew Seafair to come to me and saying, okay, you talk a lot. Put your money where your mouth is. What do you think we can do? I said, first off, you can charge on Lake Washington. And they said, you can't. I said, well, there's no such word as can't. You just got my dander up even more. I said, number two, you need a sponsor. Well, why don't you step up and be a sponsor? I said, I will step up and be a sponsor. We docked a little, and all at once they decided that Seafair was going to be called the Squire Shop Seafair. And we put up the money.
Yeah.
I went to the governor of the state of Washington, and they attached a bill and that all parks on that 4 days can charge.
Oh, okay.
And so Seafair was relived again. I put them in one of our buildings. We organized under some of the people that have been very heavily involved and in racing, and we put it together. We took 7 instead of 100 and some people that had input back and forth, and put it together. And Seafair is running today.
Oh, yeah.
And we go up and down in the sport like every other sport right now. Every sport's being challenged
Oh, yeah, definitely.
very heavily.
Oh, yes.
And the Seafair race just held in Seattle this year. Had a lot more people, a lot more interest, and a lot of it's younger. It had a lot of young people there.
Yeah.
And they opened the bridge. They did not. The Angels ran this year, and they opened the bridge as well, and that allowed people to come more than just when they locked up the bridge, running 4 or 5 different times. They'd close the bridge when the Blue Angels were flying, and I think that was a big asset.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a good point. I didn't think about, but I was there all weekend, and I was surprised that it did seem fuller.
Much busier.
It seemed much more crowded.
Much more crowded.
It was really great to see that, especially during the racing times. Like it was the whole day people were staying.
And I pat Gary Laws here over getting online with what we're doing with the hydroplane and promoting unlimited hydroplanes, period, and the total event, period. And I think I'm in my 80th year of life, and but I'm still have a lot of energy to support this, and I'm glad to see younger people coming into it.
Yeah, well, fantastic. Well, I'm so glad you're a part of it still.
Well, thank you. I am very happy to be part of it because I see a lot of life of people just watching them build a boat. That just, I come down here and watch them build it and support them. I don't know if other owners have gotten that interested in it or not, but I have. I'm here for them, and they're excitable people. Yeah. That's what makes me excited.
Good. Well, hydroplane and racing has been part of my life since day one, so I'm happy that there's a lot of enthusiasm around the sport because I could see it going the other way. I want to make sure that my son has a future with it as well. Yeah, I can share that with him.
Well, believe me, it takes all of us to, in the competition that's going on in the world of everything, hydros are alive.
Good. All right. Well, talking more about your legacy with hydroplane racing, at the end of '86 season, you left the sport, sold your team to Jim Harvey, ran it as the Old Boy Alberto. I'm just curious, what was your influences to end your ownership?
I felt it's time. I started the Squire Shop in one store at Northgate Shopping Center, very small store, and that was in '59. And I had decided in my life I was going to work so many years. It was a whole new type of store. It was come from men's stores to where I opened a varsity store for young people. And when I did that, that was an excited part for my life to start something new. It was very successful, and I'm happy we could try to put something at be reasonable prices, to great brands, and be able to bring it to people, young people. And it was very successful. And if we were there today, we'd still be showing them. And but the coming to the part of my life, I figured around 50 to 55 or 60, I was off into doing other things, which I have done, boards and everything else, from real estate to everything else, being involved.
Okay. Well, I know I believe you had 5 hulls that you owned throughout your decade of racing. Does this 79 Squire Shop hold a special place in your heart?
Yes, because we had a boat that originally I leased from an owner, just like a number of others do, and they put their name on it. And once it got going, I could see the employees were very excited, as I mentioned before, and the public. And I figured at that time I wanted to have our own crew and our own ownership of having a boat, and that's why. So this brought up where Chip Hanauer, this was when he joined the Squire, this was one of the first, beforehand, one of the hulls that we leased, was owned by other people, and I just wanted to, for employees, have our own and have it where we could take it around. And so one of them, the boat, we used as a display boat. We bought a Lincoln Thrift, another boat, and we bought other boats, and we put them in malls. And it was a great thing to have with Chip being a full-time member of being the pilot of our boat, and also was our personnel director. And he went out and PR'd and the employees, and we had boats in the mall, so that it just excited me and excited the employees, and it excited Chip a lot too. Oh, yeah. He went on to win gold cups and everything else, and it was an honor to have him as our driver.
Yeah. Yeah, not only was he a fabulous driver, but he was such a great advocate for the sport and for your team, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fabulous young man.
Yeah. Well, I was looking through the video vault last week or so, and I saw a video of him on JP Patch's show, and
Oh yeah.
so he was looked like he was going all over the place to
Yeah.
advocate for hydroplaning.
He did.
and Squire
He did
Shop.
a lot of.
Yeah.
JP was a character too.
Yeah.
No, Chip was a great ambassador and still is, and still singing on the hydro scene today.
Oh yes, he is. Well, speaking of Chip and your drivers, you've had many fantastic drivers in your tenure with the team. You had Jerry Bangs, Chip Hanover, Earl Hall, Tom DeEath, Mickey Raymond. What was your process when you were selecting a driver for your team? Was there a certain thing you were looking for? Different qualities you took into consideration? Well, I don't know about you, but I love a good cliffhanger. And I hope you enjoyed episode 14, part 1 of my interview with Bob Stiles and Gary Laws. It was a lot of fun talking with them about the Squire Shop hydroplane. But I hope you come back October 8th to hear part 2 of our Squire Shop interview with both Bob Stiles and Gary Laws. It'll be released October 18th, Tuesday at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your podcast player, as well as rate and review your experience. For more episodes and hydroplane news, check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Roostertail Talk is now online with our website, www.roostertailtalk.com. On the website, you can sign up for email subscription list to get notifications on upcoming episodes, hydro news, podcast updates, and much, much more. Finally, this is a free podcast to my listeners. But if you're really enjoying your experience listening to Roostertail Talk and want to help us continue to grow and expand, please donate. You can find a link to donate through PayPal on our website through the support tab. So until next time, I hope to see you at the races.